The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is fueled by Eukanuba. If you want to get the most of your dog in your training sessions, you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Eukanuba's new premium performance lineup is built with the nutrients dogs need to help unleash their max potential. That starts with providing energy that matches their efforts, supporting optimal nutrient delivery, and supporting post-exercise recovery. Check out the new Eukanuba premium performance lineup and find your dog's fuel at eukanubasportingdogs.com. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, guys, season's here, and we know you're not leaving your pups at home. Gunner Kennels is known for their crash-tested crates, but now they're ensuring that you can defend your food too. They've created their new food crate, which has got to be the most durable food container ever made. This thing holds 50 pounds of dog food, uses heavy-duty roto-molded construction with airtight gaskets and seals to ensure food freshness. A durable, lockable latch makes sure that raccoons and rodents can't get in there either. Gunner also guarantees that it's waterproof, dustproof, and airtight. It's constructed for portability as well, so you can keep it at home, throw it in the back of the truck, bring it to camp. Wherever you go, the food crate can go with you. Just like Gunner Kennels, the food crate comes with a lifetime guarantee and is overbuilt right here in the USA. Check them out and get yours today at gunner.com. All right, welcome to episode 200 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. We're your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. If you are new to our show, head over to hpoutdoors.com. You can find all of our past episodes there. You can also find our show anywhere quality podcast content can be found, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the good ones. You can find our show. You can also find us across all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're a Facebook user, you can join our Facebook listeners group and chat with a bunch of like-minded hunters and my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up, man?
Dude, 200, cool number. I'm excited for our guest tonight. It's been a long time coming, probably since 101 we started talking, and I try and get him every week, but I finally pinned him down this week, so it's all good. He's had nowhere to go with these freezing temperatures, so we're on it.
Yeah, Dan likes to do this, but for everyone that doesn't know who's staring at us on this Zoom call, it is Matt Peel. Matt has Goose Creek Retrievers. Matt, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, guys? Man, it's great to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, Dan, I'm missing some Netflix in bed right now, so here we are.
Yeah, a little inside baseball here. Dan decided to drum up a guest. Him and Matt have been talking for a long time about coming on the show, and we've been trying to sync up and haven't been able to make schedules work. And Dan conned him out of bed tonight as he's getting ready to tuck in, go to sweet dream time. And Dan says, "Let's go do a podcast." And so here we are, and we're excited to have Matt, and we're pumped up to talk a little bit about gun dogs and retrieving and training and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Matt, we told you before we got on the call here, gun dog training is one of, if not the most popular topic that we cover, and our episodes are always highly downloaded when we cover this topic. And, for everyone in our Facebook group that knows this, but a day does not go by where multiple questions are posed in there about gun dog training, or I'm bringing a puppy home, or I'm looking for my first puppy. So there's just like a ton of stuff that we can talk about with this topic. So maybe to get started, how about you talk to us a little bit about your outfit that you have, sort of kind of the things that you like to cover, and sort of just, the way you go about training, and just sort of give us a little bit of an overview of sort of how you run your outfit there for anybody that may not be aware who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, Matt Peel, I got Goose Creek Retrievers. I'm on the Eastern Shore, Maryland here. And we train everything from your basic gun dog. We train dogs to hunt off the boat on the big water. We're working on a pond in the woods here, kind of like a tech pond. some islands and peninsulas and everything in the woods. If you go to Arkansas every year and shoot mallards in the green timber, we can train that dog too. Kind of, we run hunt tests. The AKC, HRC hunt tests. Cover those. Kind of whatever well-rounded retriever you're after, we can do that here. So that's my gig, and here we are.
So did you did you grow up on Eastern Shore?
I did. I was born in Germany, actually. Actually, I have dual citizenship. Funny little note there.
Oh,
that might be a first. That might be a first for our show. That's kind of big time.
Yeah,
I feel very cultured now.
Yeah, I'm a German citizen and a United States citizen. So my dad was officer in the military in Germany, obviously, and he had a house off base, and I was born in a German hospital. So therefore, that gives me United States citizenship because I was born to United States citizens, but I was born in a German hospital, so it gives me German citizenship. So yeah, I don't know much past that, but here I am.
You can get a German passport.
I'm here right now.
But then obviously you made your way over.
Yeah, I came over here when I was pretty young. I was like, I don't know, 4 years old or so. But I do know that. So my birth certificate is like, it's German, and the only thing that I can read on it is the date and my name. Other than that
stuff,
it might, it might. I might be an alien. I don't know. Whatever that paper says is what I am. So here we are.
So Matt, you're doing that's. We have chatted for a long time and Snapchat about daily and just get a lot of good laughs in there. But man, your summer seems like it is filled with hunt tests. So when does that season start? When does it stop? Prior to hunting season, and how often are you home? Because it seems like you are in a truck and loaded up and going different places all the time.
We got our first hunt test March 6th. I've got a couple master dogs ready to rock and roll in that, a couple senior dogs. So we'll be rolling out for that hunt test March 6th, and then pretty much every weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be on the road until September, October-ish. Yeah, that's the jam. We're gone those couple of days, and we're back home training, getting them ready for the next one. And if it's a long test, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I will bring younger dogs and then train after the test in the afternoons and everything. And we're actually I actually take delivery next week of a bigger trailer to be able to haul like the entire kennel of dogs at one time. I'm sure, if I started talking about numbers and brands and stuff, nobody would really care about it. But well, pretty much we'll be a fully autonomous unit where I can just go train during the week, run the hunt test, come home, train, go to the next one, come back, and kind of operate like that. That way the gun dogs are still getting trained, getting ready for hunting season come, October. And the hunt test dogs are kind of grinding every week. So,
and I guess, sorry, Josh, when you
don't worry, I'll get in the conversation sometime. Damn.
We're glad you're here, buddy.
When you're doing that, are those are your dogs and clients' dogs? People have you?
Getting
them finished.
I have a 20 dog kennel, and I have 5 personal dogs. And one of them sleeps on the back seat because he's, who he is. So
here comes the
all
boom.
I need to be able to haul is, here comes the boom. All I gotta haul is 19 because he's got the back seat to himself.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so my personal dogs obviously compete, in AKC and HRC hunt tests, and client dogs, AKC, HRC hunt tests, and being on Maryland's Eastern Shore, Chesapeake Bay, and with the amount of hunting that's in the area, and even I've trained dogs from here to Oregon. the amount of people that are looking for a quality gun dog, that's what we're after. That's what we're doing. That's what we're turning out every week. So,
am I good to go, Dan?
You're up, Josh. Go ahead.
Awesome.
You're allowed.
All right. So Matt, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. But hearing you talk even further, and tells me that I need to ask this very basic, dumb question to probably most people will laugh at. I don't know what hunt tests are. Like, I assume, that they're basically testing in simulated hunting environments and certain aspects that would parallel hunting, I guess, by the name. But, we talked, you've got
sure.
a billion ribbons hanging in the room that, I can see here. And I see people posting pictures all the time with their dogs and their ribbons. And like, I understand that a lot of people put a lot of time into this stuff, and it's like hunting season ends and it's like hunt test season starts and we grind on that now. So I get that it's a big deal. And I'll see like Instagram clips periodically and stuff, but like, I just like, for anybody that's like me, that doesn't have any exposure to hunt tests, can you kind of just sort of summarize, like, what is it exactly?
So the biggest thing that I can say to anybody that doesn't know what a hunt test is come out and run your dog. It's a great time. It's a pretty family oriented ordeal. But it's so the AKC or the UKC, which runs the HRC, the Hunting Retriever Club. So the American Kennel Club or the United Kennel Club have their two different organizations, and they kind of set a standard. So they say a junior or started dog should do X, Y, and Z. A senior or seasoned dog should do, X, Y, and Z. And a master or finished or HRCH dog should do X, Y, and Z. And so with a hunt test, you're not competing against anybody there. Everybody there could have, you could have 30 dogs entered and 30 dogs complete it well, and 30 dogs go home with a pass or a ribbon, or, however you want to look at it. But that's, it's the biggest thing is it's something to do with your dog in the off season.
Yeah.
You hear about like limber tail and all these things that dogs go through when they just kind of been on the couch all year, and then they go hunting and the water's cold and they haven't done anything other than like eat dog food and sit on the couch. You like that? Like how I caught myself? But yeah, so it's something to do with your dog in the off season. And honestly, every client of mine that has got into hunt tests that just started with a gun dog, it's given them something to train their dog towards. It's a standard that, if you want a dog that can just go pick up ducks and come back, then, we'll train for that. If you want a dog that can pick up ducks and honor another working dog and run a blind, then we'll do that. If you want a dog that can do all of the aforementioned activities, plus run a more technical setup with it and run a triple with it, we'll do that. There's just goals to achieve on the way through. And it's a fun time for clients, for myself as a trainer, for clients, for individuals who are training as an amateur. It's just a good time to get out and do something with your dog that isn't just, going to the local training grounds where you train and running, by yourself, or, whatever. It's the camaraderie is there. There's usually like a dinner on the Saturday night afterwards, or if not, you can come to dinner with guys like me. It's just a good time. It's a good time to spend with your dogs. It beats the living mess out of everything we're dealing with in the world right now.
Yeah. Is it primarily what I would know to be like duck gun dogs, or do you also get like dogs that you would more associate traditionally with like upland hunting and that kind of thing?
So there's different hunt tests for those kind of dogs. Unless you get to like what I was describing with like the UKC and the HRC, the Hunting Retriever Club, they have what's called the Grand every year. And in the Grand, there is an upland aspect to it. And that's just one series out of 5.
Gotcha.
So, that's really the only retriever based hunt test that is kind of scored and judged and oriented around upland hunting. But there's NAVDA, HRC, the Hunter Retriever Club sponsors upland test with dogs. The APLA, American Pointing Lab Association, hosts a Labrador Retriever pointing, test. There's plenty of things you can go do with your dog in the summertime that don't involve just sitting around watching TV.
But obviously, like, it's a big deal because, I mean, these hunt tests and these achievements and levels that these dogs attain, like, that is what people use to validate the bloodline. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's like, if you want to know you have a quality dog, or you want to, breed quality dogs that people will have confidence in for purchase or whatever, it seems like these hunt tests are kind of the jam. It's like, you got to punch these tickets and have sort of these credentials.
The biggest thing with all of these tests is it's not dog for dog until you get to the field trial world. But at the end of the day, whether it's the field trial world, the hunt test world, all it's showing is trainability. I'm sure that there will be, if I say this out loud, there will be a bunch of people that say, well, I bought a puppy from the newspaper and he turned out to be great. And that's fine. I support you fully, and I hope you happy hunting for years to come. But when you're buying a puppy, you're not only buying the puppy itself, the physical little, mushy ball of energy, you're buying the history that it has with it and the trainability that comes with its parents. And that's the biggest thing that you want to look at. Like, it is, if its parents did all those things, you're just stacking the deck in your favor that puppy will be at least 25% as good as its parents were. Right. And it'll make you a hell of a gun dog. And that's all you're looking for is the pedigree doesn't, nobody like slap pedigrees on tables and compares them to say my dog's better than yours. You're just stacking your deck in your favor to have a trainable dog.
Right. I feel like somebody does do that.
Does do what is that?
Slaps pedigrees on a table and tries to compare dogs. I don't know who it is, but I feel like some people do that.
I'm not allowed to like say what I would call that. So politically correctly, that would be called a member measuring contest. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well
that's
played.
cool.
Well played there.
Yeah.
No, but that? I will.
See,
I mean,
there's two. I'm doing good.
It's pretty proud of you. I gotta be honest. I'm pretty proud right now.
So I can vouch for that because so Kimber is going to be 12 here, meaning when I bought her, I was 25. So a couple years out of college, really starting to get into hunting. Didn't know anything about training, still don't know a lot about training, but she's been an awesome dog, right? Like anything I asked her to do, She's done it and went above and beyond. And then finally, I think maybe 3 years ago, I finally looked at her bloodline and it's full of master hunters. And I'm like, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense, right?
Like, see how that works?
Yeah. So, and then my other dog has bad hips and I got him from the pound just because we thought she needed a buddy, right?
Like you, and like, I didn't know all that information there, but that is literally what we're trying to alleviate. Everybody thinks, everybody has the best dog. And if you believe that, then it's true. Like if your dog makes you happy, then it is the best dog. But when you're breeding dogs, if you're not bettering the breed, you're hurting the breed. And with a lot of working breeds, there comes a lot of joint issues and things like that. And if you're not testing for them and you're bringing more of that into the breed, you're hurting the breed. I don't care how good the dogs are. If they have bad hips and they can't walk by the time they're 8 years old, you haven't really done much other than cause heartache. That's kind of how I look at it. I just tried to breed. When I do a breeding, I look at it as, would I want to keep one of these puppies? And if I would want to keep one of the puppies for myself to hunt over, to run hunt tests with, to do, whatever I choose to do, then that's what I would do. If I wouldn't, then it's not worth doing. And that's just kind of how I look at it.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say when you do have puppies or people bring you a dog, do they just say, I want a finished dog, or I want a master hunter? Like, do you get a lot of
Yeah,
those more than like I just want I want him to bring a duck back to me? Or do you get guys that are just like,
honestly,
what is
so,
your clientele
so
more like lately?
the, that's a broad, yeah, all of that, everything you just said,
Yeah.
really. Um, there's like, and that's, everybody's goals are different with their dogs. So I have guys that call me and they're like, hey man, I want a dog that will sit still, go out and pick up a duck, come back and go get another one. Cool, we can do that. I've got guys that call me and are like, hey, I want to run hunt tests. And I like, if you call me and say, well, I want a master hunter, well, my first comment is going to be, well, let's start training the dog and see where we go. Because if the dog has the capabilities, that's where we'll go. If they don't, then we won't. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot, as much on a trainer as there is on a dog. Um, you know, oh, Josh is going to be so upset, but I don't know a better way to say this. You can't make chicken shit out of chicken, or you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. So if the dog can't do it, then you won't be able to do it. You know what I mean? There's sorry, Josh. Are you mad?
No, I'll let it go. I'll
Okay.
it was a fair analogy.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. I just had to clarify.
Yeah, no, I
But
get
yeah,
it.
so
That's
like
it.
my client, like if you just want a gun dog that'll handle, we'll do that. If you want a gun dog that can hunt the timber, we'll do that. You want a gun dog that can jump off the boat in the middle of Chesapeake Bay and handle from there, we'll do that. That's, I try to um be as broad as I can be without sacrificing the quality of everything else.
How rare is it that you get a dog that can do all those things? Because I mean, I'm sure you have a training plan, but then the dog goes home and inherently, like most people probably have a very similar situation that they hunt in most of the time. So the dog is probably going to continue to improve there, and maybe some of these other areas, it doesn't get as much work. So then it's like, okay, yeah, we've been hunting fields, honkers or whatever, and we'd hunt that 90% of the time, but we're going to take a trip down to Arkansas this year and we're going to bring the dog into the timber, but maybe it hasn't been in the timber since it left the kennel with you and had been exposed to that kind of stuff. Like is that dog just going to be in there and be like, whoa, whiskey tango foxtrot here, like what's going on?
Well, that's honestly, man, that's the biggest thing that training is about, is exposing them to as many scenarios as we can possibly expose them to. So when they get put in that scenario again, they at least have an adequate reaction to that scenario. They know how to handle it. They know, and they might not be. You could have a master hunter that's never hunted the green timber in Arkansas, that goes there, and the first couple hunts, or maybe the first morning, he really is just kind of figuring out how to deal with all that. That dog stand in the water that he's got to jump up out of the water to get onto, and things like that. But
Yeah.
Once they get going, they've already seen it. They know how to do it at a very rudimentary level or a mechanical level. They know what place is. They know how to retrieve. They know how to mark. They know how to stop to a whistle and take a cast. They know how to do all of those things in very different environments. And then you put it all together on a hunt, and you go across the country and you start doing it somewhere else. And while they might not excel the first morning, and some of them will, but by the second hunt, the third hunt, those dogs are grinding. They know what to do. They know how to do it. They just had to kind of work their way into it. They've
Yeah.
known the basics of how to do everything that they're being asked to do, and the results go from there. The dog that's never done those things that you throw into that situation, he's going to look at you like you got 6 hits.
Yeah.
I want to ask, like, when someone picks up a new puppy, what is your ideal timeline to start training said puppy? What are things that you would like to see said puppy be able to do when they come to you? Let's start there.
The timeline for training starts literally the day you bring the puppy home. People would be astonished at how fast you can teach a puppy to sit, come back to you. You can teach them heel, place, all those things. And within a matter of a couple of days, you'll be shocked at how much they can do. Now, you don't want to overload them and just do too much and just, kind of, when I say beat it into them, I don't mean like physically. I just mean like if that's all they do, then they won't want to do it anymore. But so training starts the day they go home. And the other big thing is exposure. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when you and I were talking, the three of us were talking before this started. The biggest thing that I'm noticing with dogs coming to me now that have kind of been purchased or raised through this whole, pandemic deal, they've never been anywhere. Like everybody's quarantined, so your dog has been quarantined. If your dog has been quarantined, he's never seen anything. You and I are, rational thinking humans. So we know, well, hey, there's still a world out there. I'll just call Dan and talk to him and BS on the phone for 20 minutes. And there's, my world still is tangible there. A dog that's raised and never been anywhere or seen anything, he doesn't know what's going on. So then he goes to somewhere new. He goes to his trainers, and it's a culture shock. He doesn't know what to do. The biggest thing I can tell for people right now is like, if you need to get a pack or you need to get a new light switch because your light switch went up, take your dog to Lowe's. You need to go to, I don't even care if it's just in your car and you walk him around other people in the parking lot. You go get your haircut. Go get your haircut, walk your dog around the parking lot. And I'm not big on like letting dogs be around, especially young dogs be around places that dogs could have been that aren't vaccinated and whatever. But it's almost like the lesser of two evils right now is just take your dog everywhere you can, except for like PetSmart and stuff, because that's still vile. But expose them to everything, expose them to as much as you can, because they'll benefit from it in the future.
I went to Home Depot maybe like a week and a half ago with my daughter, and we're walking out, and this family, there's like 6 people, and the one person kind of in the middle is carrying a puppy, right? And I don't even know, I'm not even quite sure what it was. So I was like, good, that's really good. And I said, Kelly was my daughter with me. I said, ask them if they have a treat or anything, if you can feed her. And she's like, do you have a treat to give her? And they're like, no, and kind of like shied away. And I was like, that's not good. Like, you want to like expose them to people and, socialize that dog, and I didn't want to yell at them, but
I'll take my personal opinions out of this whole thing. And as much as, that's hard for me to swallow, no matter what your belief system is with all that's going on right now, if you want to buy, raise, train, and hunt over a well-rounded, well-established, nice dog, they need to meet people. They need to go different places. They need to, when the little girl comes up and asks if I can pet your puppy, you let her, because odds are she doesn't have the 19. Just be realistic with life in general. And I'm going to stop talking about that because I'm going to go down a whole nother rabbit hole that I'm going to leave alone because I'm a good person on the show. But sincerely, like, expose your dog to as much as you can. If you're bringing home a puppy, if you have a 5-month-old dog, take that joker everywhere you can, because if you decide to take him to a trainer, or even if you just decide to take him to the duck blind one day after you've been doing all this training, he's never seen anybody else, he's going to go to he's going to go to the duck blind and not know what to do. So it's the more exposure you can get them at a young age, the better off they're going to be as they age. So
let me ask how this works. So let's say I've got a dog and I bring him to you to train.
Shut up, Dan.
How long or how much of the training process will I, as the owner, be involved with, if any? Like, is it typical to have the owner involved in some of the training aspects, or is it more typical to say, like, here's my dog, I don't know what the timeline is, 3 months, he's with you, and I'll be back to get him at that time?
Yeah, so that's an owner's involvement is as much involvement as they want to have. A guy like me, I have guys that are very busy that are working, from here, there, and everywhere, from wherever, that don't see their dogs until they're ready to go home this October. And then I have guys that are reasonably local that are here every Saturday, that it's not, heinous weather and freezing cold. The wintertime, most of the time is, people just come and see their dogs and they don't want to stand out in the cold with me and run them. They just want to come to the kennel and, hey, puppy, good dog. All right, catch you later. But through the spring, summer, and fall, I have pretty much every Saturday that's not pouring rain in, we'll have training days, and folks can come out and spend time with their dog. They can just watch the dog and see how they're progressing. We're pretty open and transparent through all of that. So owners' involvement is kind of on them, really.
What do you see dogs that have more owner involvement perform differently? Like, have you noticed any different outcome when comparing dogs that have been not, because like
no,
because
really.
I mean, like,
no.
I feel like I've heard people talk about this, and it doesn't really tend to matter. And I kind of wonder, like, I think as humans, my thought is like, oh, I want to bond with this dog, and like, there's all of that like emotional investment and family oriented type stuff that goes into it. But at the same time, like, when you're looking at a dog that's not a human, it is learning a skill set that can be executed by anybody essentially that knows what that dog is trained to do and how to execute the commands or whatever.
Well, that's one of the biggest things, man, is like the more time you spend with them, the more they'll bond with you. And through training, that's kind of what I want them to do. I want them to bond with me, because if they'll do anything for me, when they go back for you, they'll do anything for you. It's a lot of like all the training we do. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, I trained my dog to do this. This is a team sport. These dogs do this for us. As much as they do it for themselves because they like to just chase birds and stuff, they do it for us. It takes two to tango.
Yeah, to please the owner.
They wouldn't be there if it wasn't for us, and we wouldn't have that duck if it wasn't for them. So it's kind of a two-man or two being sport, if you will. So most of the owner involvement is just coming out and spending time with their dog, and then I'm training the dog until they're like a finished dog and like really running with their owner good or well, excuse me. There's not a lot that I'm training the dog, or any other good well-rounded trainer is training the dog. You're just there to spend time with them and see how they're doing. So owner involvement is great, and it's awesome, and I like spending time with my clients, and we always have good times, and we have Saturday days here at the kennel, and everybody has a few cold ones or a few mixed ones, and it's always a good usually my Saturdays during my training day kind of time frame, as long as there's not a hunt test, they usually tend to be kind of catch up days. Well, this dog could use a touch up on this. This dog could use a touch up on this. And that's kind of what we do on Saturdays, just simply because there's so many people around. And if we got a bunch of dogs that are just grinding, then we're still in the field doing setups, but maybe we'll be there all day instead of quitting it at 1:00 and then going back and doing T patterns or, whatever it may be. Or I'll have some guys that come out that I've kind of helped with their dogs throughout the process, and they're still running them themselves. And then the afternoon, kind of like we'll order a pizza and drink a few cold ones, and then we'll run their dog through like a T pattern or some pattern blinds, and just kind of get them rolling from there and see what we need to work on this week and what's good, what needs improvement, and we'll go from there.
So it's kind of a I don't know how to, but when someone's looking for a trainer and they have ribbons and they have all this stuff, but like what we're going through now and this cold blast that just wiped through the entire country, is there anything that people should be looking at a trainer's facilities? Like, okay, I'm coming to you, Matt. you have my dog for the next 6 months and it's putting us through the winter time, right? Like, what should I be looking at their facilities to make sure that my dog's going to be safe? Like, is it extra generators that might need heat, or, just walls on the place in general? Like, maybe talk to that. And because I mean, really right now, the guys down south probably don't have walls. And what are they doing with the dogs? Are they putting them in their houses?
Yeah. So man, like so I'll be honest with you, man, like most guys that I know that I'm talking to right now are very well prepared down south. Even if it's just like our dog trailers that we use are fully insulated and are, honestly, you put a bunch of dogs in there and they might get too warm with what's going on right now. But with what's going on right now, nobody can prepare for this. Like, there's guys in Texas right now that have 6 inches of snow and ice. And I mean, let's be realistic. If you move to Texas, you don't plan on snow and ice, right? Like, this isn't, you can't hold anybody accountable, or you can't hold this against anybody across the country. I don't care what your facility is like. This is just, we had I had a buddy of mine that was up here. He's another professional trainer. Actually, he just started. So he didn't tell me I could, but I'm gonna give him a shout out. He just started. He's in Virginia. His name is Connor McNamara. He's got Coastline Kennels. He's a really good young trainer coming up, learning the ropes. And he was just up here for the last week with me, and me and him lost like 2 days of good training in the field because we had an ice storm. And we trained, we got obedience done. We got all our inside work, quote unquote, done with those dogs. And that's kind of like what you got to do when when that stuff happens. Like, we're still training. It might not be, your big field setups and everything like that, but we're still training. And the biggest thing, like, honestly, like, to touch back, like, kind of circle back on you, most people pick their retriever trainers either on results or on relationships, and most of the time those relationships go with results. And that's the biggest thing, is like, you got to work with somebody who you want to work with. Nobody's going to want to work with a trainer that they don't get along with, and nobody's going to want to work with a trainer who doesn't provide results. So that's kind of how, everybody in every hemisphere or lateral line, longitudinal line, whatever, however that works, is going to have a facility that, or should have a facility that is capable of dealing with that area's average ambient temperatures. What we're dealing with right now across, like, especially the Midwest, and even honestly on the East Coast here, I'm expecting, like, right now, I don't know, I can't see out my office window right now. It might be snowing right now. So I'm already planning on tomorrow. We're doing obedience inside. I'm going through all my, my compulsion program, dog, collar conditioning, things like that. And if you're like on a T pattern, I'm going to be in the kennel and I'm going to set up place stands and I'm going to be casting a place. And that might be beyond you, but we're going to be doing something, because I got ADD and I can't sit in the house and watch TV. So we're going to be doing something. We're going to have the heat on and everybody's going to be comfortable. But right now, this time of year, any trainer, like, man, if you're down south in the summertime and, you're on the hunt test circuit, there's going to be like 4 or 5 days where you just can't get much done, outside. It's just too hot. So it works in the reverse order too. Like, there's 4 or 5 days this year that there's probably trainers somewhere that probably aren't doing much because they just can't, they just feasibly can't get out. If there's 2 feet of snow on the ground that you're not used to having, you can't really run a dog through 2 feet of snow. And in the same time, if we get a hot snap in the summertime and it's 104 degrees, well, your dog passing out isn't worth me running them. You know what I mean? Or whoever running them.
And that's, I've, between talking with Barton and Joe Spoo, that, runs the Fueled podcast with Eukanuba and whatnot, and people don't realize running dogs in warm water on hot days is some of the worst things you can do, right? Like putting them in a hot tub and not letting them cool off is
well, and that's like, truly, like, I know we're in the thick of winter, so like it won't be something that most people will think about later this summer, but your water temperatures at the surface, especially if you're in a pond that I'm very lucky here at the kennel, like we've got a swim by pond and that small whatever you want to call it, technical pond, however you want to look at it. It's all shaded by trees. So there's not many days that I can't get a dog wet and worry about them. But the pond, the pond I just used, for example, the pond I used to do swim by at, they're teaching casting on the water. There came a time later in the year that you just couldn't use it because it baked all day and the water temperature at the surface was like bath water. And as much as these dogs' coats insulate them from the cold temperatures in the wintertime, they trap all that heat in the summertime. And it's not fair to the dogs. Whether they can do it or not, that's one thing or the other. It's just not fair.
Right.
So how often do you see guys like, or maybe what's a general rule of thumb for guys that have been hunting their dogs all season and, now season's wrapping up and they want to, you said you got March 6th, you're talking hunt tests and stuff starting, is there a rule of thumb where, your dog needs some downtime? Like, cause I mean, the season, depending on how much they hunt, can be run down a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's what you took the words out of my mouth, what I was going to touch on with what you started with initially there. I'll use him as an example. I won't say his name because I don't know the outfit he works for. I have a client that I train a dog for here in Maryland that works for an outfitter, and I think he's in Oklahoma. And that dog has been killing it all year. She's been doing great. And she needs a break. When he comes back to Maryland, like me and him were talking on the phone not even a week ago. And he was like, what do I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was like, hey man, you get back here, just let her sit down for a while. You know what I mean? Like she's been picking up, he's sending me pictures all the time. She's picked up 50, 60, 70 birds a day. Right. Let her sit down. Let her cool off. Let her mellow out. And then we'll get back on it. Everybody wants their dogs to do these miraculous things and, in no time flat and just grind and grind and grind. But the way I look at it, man, like look at your job, right? So any of us, we have days off, right? My Sunday personally as a retriever trainer, my Sundays are pretty much like my day. The dogs still get aired and get to run around and play several times a day. They get fed, but I'm not doing a lot of training. I might take and go hang out with a buddy of mine, who has a couple dogs, and might in the morning go throw a setup for my dogs and his dogs, and then I'm done and doing lunch with the family kind of thing. They got to have some downtime. They're athletes. Athletes have off seasons. NFL athletes, quarterbacks. I don't know a daggone thing about football. Everybody will laugh at me over that, but I don't. First down, fourth, second, linebacker. Yep, all that. I don't know anything about it. One thing I do know is if you are an athlete and you are after it every single day, 365, you're going to hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're going to not enjoy it anymore. And these dogs, man, like we want them to enjoy it. We want them. I tell people all the time, I don't want to train a dog that doesn't want to do it as much as I want to do it. If he don't want to do it as much as I want to do it, then we need to find a different dog. So, you'll take that out of them. So, they need not as much downtime as they need working time, but they need downtime. Like when I get done training, everybody who follows me on Instagram, Facebook sees when we're done training for the day, I'll let 20 dogs out, let them go run. I know they're not going anywhere. When I call, they'll come back. I'm gonna let them run. I'll take the mule, run across the field, let them go swim, let them go play. And they got to be a dog. So, everybody that might be jazzed up to go, run hunt tests, the first one that starts up after hunting season, if your dog's ready for it, cool. But make sure he gets a break. Make sure he gets some downtime to just kind of be a dog and decompress and especially if you're like a guy that, like that's picking up, whatever, 20, 30 birds, 50, 60 birds a day. Especially those guys that take their dogs and run, hunt snow geese and everything like that. Them dogs haven't had a break since October.
Yeah, and they're picking up 300 birds a
they
day. Snows.
I don't know about that.
Maybe
I don't know about all that.
A group of them, right?
Yeah. So, but either way, man, like season gets over. I had a dog. That dog of mine, Boomer. He picked up 1,264 ducks his first season, and I didn't touch that joker. He sat in the house and laid on a daggone dog bed until the first hunt house I ran him in. You know what I mean? Like he just sat around and enjoyed being a dog. He ate dog food and the other thing they do. See, caught myself third time. I need a gold star for that one.
Yeah, we're gonna hand out a special ribbon for you.
I appreciate it. But yeah, man, they just need downtime at the end of the season, especially and this is not a dig at, just putting it into perspective. If you're a guy who, your best hunting days are like a Friday here and there and most Saturdays, then you can probably keep training with that dog. As long as he's used to that workload and he can do it, you can keep training with him. You're one of these guys like myself who hunts often, or an outfitter or guide or whatever that is really putting your dog through the paces. Let him go home and relax. Don't let him get fat, but because a fat dog doesn't work for anybody. But let him kind of take the load off and decompress, and you'll probably be surprised that with a break how well they'll do when they come back from break.
So Matt, we're talking a little bit. You have the technical pond on your facility. You have dogs out in Oklahoma, so a lot of and West Coast you were talking about. So dogs on dry land, some small water, but some of your stuff you're known for is the big water and just some, your cool Bernie pics on the front of your boat, sitting there with his gloves on and stuff like that, right? So
yeah,
so
yeah.
How
I really didn't know that was going to turn into a thing, but yeah.
that was funny. That was one of the better ones I saw. How do dogs adjust to going out on the big water, and is there much of a difference with them, jumping off a boat into a pond rather than the big water off your big boat?
So the biggest thing that I can say about that, man. So when we train dogs, we train them to see pictures. So dogs don't think as cognitive as you and I do. You and I think that, hey, I'm looking at you on this telephone screen, and there's Dan sitting in his office, there's Matt sitting in his office, there's Josh sitting in his office. They don't think like that. They see the picture. They would see you sitting there, and they would know that. So we teach them to respond to the situation that they're in a desired way. And if they've never done it, then you're going to have issues. The biggest thing, like with, when I hunt sea ducks out here on the Chesapeake Bay, you might be able to see land in the horizon, but most dogs understand that land is way too far for them to get to. And that's one of the biggest hangups that dogs have is, they go to jump off that boat and they're like, well, as much as I want that duck, there's no bank for me to get to in either direction.
No place to go.
I got no place to go. I got a duck in my mouth, and here I am. So, but sincerely, like that's, if a guy calls me and they're like, hey man, I got a dog here right now that like his main goal for that dog is to hunt off his boat. And he knows that we do that, and we'll go to the boat ramp and I'll put the big sea duck boat in, and I'll take a dog trailer full of dogs or a topper full of dogs, depending on how many I have. And we'll go make a Saturday out of, we're going to train off the boat. It's not a hunt test scenario. It's a hunting scenario. I might not put out 5 long lines of decoys, but I'll put out 1 or 2. And we learn how to jump off the boat. with confidence, go get whatever you saw or handle to. In other words, stop to whistle and cast to whatever you are desired to pick up, I guess, if you would say. But teach them that scenario. If you take a dog that's hunted for 2 years in a goose spread and has never got his feet wet unless the ground was kind of damp, and you take him on a sea duck hunt, he's probably going to struggle. He probably won't know how to handle that scenario. So that's one of the big things that I do is.
Do you start close to shore, like where they can actually see shore, and then move out as you train?
Man, that would depend on the dog.
Yeah.
So I just going off the kennel of dogs that I have right now, I've got 3 dogs here right now that if I went halfway between here and Europe, wherever that whatever that Gulf Stream is there, and we shot a duck, they'd go get it and come back, and that's great. Yeah, and so like as great as they are, there's probably a little bit of stupidity that comes into that because they just go. They just want to go get it and they'll come back. That's great, and I love it. I love that. I adore it. A lot of dogs, and it's not no fault of their own. They understand that they can stop swimming on dry land, and they get in the boat. And so yes, there are some dogs. I've had some dogs that it took me a couple of days to get them to jump off the boat in general, and we would pull up right to the shoreline, anchor the boat on the shoreline, and just like, even if you just hand throw bumpers off the boat, and he's a good boy, as long as he brings it back, that's a good dog. Good boys, good. And we kind of progress from there. Then there's some dogs that I don't have to. We just go right out in the middle of the river and start training. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is setting your dog up for success in the situation that you're in. If you've never asked your dog to hunt out of a blind, then train your dog to hunt out of a blind. Don't just go to a field and try to get him to get into a blind and sit there and wait for birds to fall. If you've never, hunted, divers or whatever, get that dog used to running out past or swimming out past the decoys, because a lot of your divers are going to fall outside your decoys. If you've never sea duck hunted where there's no land in sight, in theoretical sight, like you and I can see it, but the dog knows that he can't get to it. Get him used to that. Even if it's, most good dogs that have some training under their belt, they'll figure it out pretty quickly. They'll understand, within a few times that they'll be successful. And the biggest thing is that you'll save them. They get in trouble, they get tangled up in a decoy, you'll save them. They get in trouble trying to get back to the boat, you'll go get them. But at the same time, it takes a very special dog to be able to do all of those things. Everybody, like I said, everybody has a great dog. If you got a dog and you're training him, and he makes you happy, that by God, he is the best dog because he makes you happy. And I will stand by that until the day I die. But, be realistic in the scenarios you put him in. If he's never done it before, like, think of your first day of school, like when you went to high school, right? How did you feel your first day of high school? You'd never been in that environment before. You didn't know where to go. You didn't know what to do. All you knew is you were there to, that dog knows he's there to pick up ducks. You're there to go to like sit in the class and write on a piece of paper.
And but you didn't know where to go.
Yeah. But the senior girls, obviously. But sincerely, like, I know I joke and whatever and carry on. But think about that for the dogs aspect. You know what I mean? Like they if they don't know how to do it, they don't know how to do it. And if you don't set them up for success to do it in the first place, they won't know how to do it. And everybody's always got that special dog that they just took one. I got one myself. That dog of mine, Boomer, that most everybody knows about, that knows me. I just took him hunting. And that this is the epitome of a do as I say, not as I do situation. But he excelled. I trained him, I raised him, and he just went and did it. A lot of them aren't like that. They got to go see that scenario. when the water's not, 28 degrees and there's not a skim of ice on top of everything and things like that. So the biggest thing I can tell anybody, man, like whatever you're hunting you're doing, whether it's big water, whether it's, divers on the bank, whether it's even a goose spread, show it to him first. Take him to your goose pit that you hunt out of a lot and just, even if you just throw him some bumpers and get him used to like, hey, this is what we do here. Remember this? If you, hunt sea ducks, take him on your boat in the middle of summertime and honestly, like, me, go out there, drink some beer and throw him some bumpers and just get him confident doing that activity. If you spend enough time with him and, he's successful at first, he'll do it for you 100% of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to say, I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram and, we talked about this too before we started recording, but, for someone who doesn't live on the Chesapeake or nearby, we obviously will have different, when we say the water's kind of gnarly looking, like we'll have different definitions of what gnarly means. I mean, what would make me nervous, you're probably like, wouldn't even, bat an eye at, but I see the dogs plunge off the side of the boat in where I'm watching them in the video and like the dog's head's disappearing, like, cause the rollers are, going. And I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm like, man, I can't imagine being that dog, first of all, but like just sitting there watching that dog disappear and knowing how sea ducks kind of, how they can be and all that kind of stuff. Like that to me is like, you talk about an athlete. Like I have a hard time grasping that like any dog can just show up and do that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even ones that you try to train, like I don't know, maybe I could be wrong here, but it just seems like that takes like a little bit of that, like something going on with that dog where they just send it, right? And they got to have like a certain trait to them to kind of thrive in that environment. At least maybe some can do it and survive, but like there's other ones that probably just, they thrive in that environment.
I'll be the first to say, so I own 6 dogs myself, and 4 of them are older. One of them is retired. That's Gator. I have 3, what I guess most would say in their prime kind of dogs, and only 2 of them that I take sea duck hunting, because while all 3 of them could do it, 2 of them thrive in that environment. And you need a dog with some grit and a dog that, like I joke with guys that know me about my dog Ember. She's the one that's real flashy and has the big jump off the boat, and she doesn't care. Neither Boomer and her don't care how rough it is and whatever. But I think with her, one of the best things that makes her good at hunting out of that boat is she's just dumb enough to go every time. And I say that, but she's just dumb enough to do it, and she's got just enough trust in me that I'm going to get her to the duck. And if you have a dog that all they're worried about is getting to the duck, then you can work with that. It's the harsh reality of the retriever world. Some of them don't have as much drive as the other ones. And while they're very well suited for the environment that they're in, that might not be their environment. And it doesn't mean that they're not a good dog. It just means that maybe the middle of, a bay that's 15 miles wide might not be the best environment for them. And that's not a dig. Like, I know the way I say that, like, comes off, a certain type of way, but it's not. Like, if your dog's not suited for that, he's not suited for that.
Yep.
If your dog is a goose dog, then he's a goose dog. If that's what you do, I guess the best way to say it, like, there's a lot of outfitters, in the Midwest and everything that guys go with all the time that will say no dogs. They're not saying no dogs because your dog is awful. They say no dogs because some of the dogs that they take have never had 10 guns go off over top of their head and 150 or 1,000 lessers pour into the decoys. They've never been in that situation, so they don't know how to deal with it. that's, like, that's one of those things. Like, if your dog has never trained in that environment, or you've never set your gun down and just said, I'm going to work my dog and make sure he understands this environment and correct him for breaking and make sure he does his job that he's supposed to do, then you can't expect him to perform in that type of environment. That would be
I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like when we're hunting here, like a big field might be 400 yards wide, right? And if you're hunting out in the middle of it, then if you drop a couple birds that might make it to the tree line, you might be 150 yards. Well, when you're out west, like that 150 yards is 1,000 yards, and your dog just
not even that, just the volume of birds. Like, I tell everybody, like, my young dogs, if I train a dog from the time he's 6 months till he's 10 months old, I tell you he's relatively steady. And what I mean by that is, if you land 6 or 8 puddle ducks in front of him on a farm pond, he's going to sit there and you're going to shoot them ducks, and he's going to go get them and come back, and you're going to grin from ear to ear, and you're going to be tickled with him. If you take him to Texas or Oklahoma and you land 500 lessers in front of his face, he's probably going to leave you, because that's exciting. He's 10 months old. He's never done this before, and that's exciting. So that I'm going to go back and just kind of touch back a little bit on one of the topics that we kind of discussed. If you got a young dog, 10, 11, 12 months old, that it's his first hunting season, his first hunts, whatever you want to say, and he's never done it before, you don't need to prove anything to anybody. Don't be a hero. Make sure your dog's steady, because that's the biggest thing. Like, I don't care if he sees any of them. Make sure he sits still, because I see you laughing there, but nobody wants to get a dog hurt.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing, man. Like, steadiness is not about like cool videos or proving a point. Steadiness is about keeping the dog safe, because while God and every dog's gonna break. Every dog will. I'll use one example. I had another dog trainer come and hunt with me a couple years ago, and his dog broke a couple times while we were goose hunting, and he put her up, because luckily for him, we were hunting with the guys that knew dogs, and his dog broke. Everybody pulled up, didn't shoot. We were hunting out of a pit, so your gun barrels are like at ground level, and everybody was used to hunting with dogs, saw a dog roll out, and barrels went up in the air, and we let the geese go. And that's fine, because the dog still learned from that. She got put up, and that was it. And like, my dog Boomer, like, he loves hunting, but he loves a goose field. That dog's he's never broken a hunt test or a field trial, but he's broke twice goose hunting. And I just know that he really likes goose hunting. So when I go goose hunting, I tell guys, like, hey man, if I've never hunted with you before, or whatever, odds are he won't, but just be mindful. If you see a yellow, rocket go across the field, please don't shoot him. Pull your guns up. I'm going to do my best to get him back. And like I said, he's only done it twice, and he's picked up a lot of geese, but you got a dog that has a thing that they like, be mindful of it. Be mindful of it, that he likes that more than he likes to run a hunt test. He loves a goose. So I know that sometimes if he's real jacked up, I'll just put my gun down and I'll run my dog. Make sure he sits steady. Let everybody else shoot, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
Because it's not worth getting your dog hurt. I hate to like harp on anything, but like, you see a lot of videos on like Instagram and whatever, and like dogs are like beating the geese to the ground pretty much. And I don't knock anybody for the way they train their dog. And, guys that have dogs like that have, they say, well, I don't want cripples to get away, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. Man, like, I don't care what you want. Like, I don't want my dog to get shot. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
That's the utmost of importance with it all. Like, I don't want my dog to get hurt, because he's a member of my family, or she, or, whatever it is, that's a member of my family. And they're just as invested in this hunt, probably more so than we are, and I don't want them hurt. And with proper training, you try to eliminate that issue, but it's there's an old retriever trainer saying it's not if he'll break, it's when, because he's going to break at some point in time, and it's just getting a good correction in and having responsible hunters with you that will be mindful of that situation and dealing with it, and then you hunt again and he won't do it because he understands the process. But steadiness is a very, very important retriever trait, and it's not for it's for safety. It's more than anything else. Even a dog that'll sit in a blind, you got a dog that paces back and forth in the blind and whatever, and knock over shotguns and carry on and do, it's as great of a sport as hunting is, there's guns involved. It's not to be taken lightly. I'll use myself as an example. I have 70% hearing loss in my left ear because of a hunting accident. And I would have, if it hadn't been for the guide we were with grabbing the guy's gun barrel, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So that's how fast something can happen to a person. So, think about the dogs, you know what I mean? Like, think about how fast something could happen to them that, would change, the course of your life, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we've been going on a little while now, Dan, and I know that you probably got one more thing or 100 more things. So I'm going to get out of your way and let you bring whatever else you got to get.
You want me to wrap it up? You want me to wrap it up with my final thoughts here? I have 2 questions. I actually have multiple things written down. I'll try and make it quick.
I saw you just burning up the notepad over there.
I was.
He's got.
I was. So, Matt, it seems like every summer we always see the improper way to introduce puppies to swimming. Could you give a quick rundown of what you should not do with puppies? And it might include a 4.5 foot pole, just launching them into it.
Okay, so I know where you're going at, and I'm just gonna get out of the way. If you have a lab puppy and you want it to swim, do not take your above ground pool in your trailer hood and throw him into it. That's not going to be conducive to a really nice retriever. We introduce our puppies to water at their own pace. I've had a litter. I had a litter this past spring that were 5 weeks old, and we took training with us one day and just let them all out to play. And I was hot, and I was like, well, I'm going to walk out in this pond, and if they walk with me, then that's what they'll do. If they play around on the edge, that's what they'll do. And the whole litter walked out and swam like big dogs with me, and that's great. And while that is wonderful, if you have one that is unsure of the water and unsure of him or herself, then you got to just ease it into them. That is one of the biggest things. If you want a dog to be confident in doing something and jump in the water and do it, on their own terms, but on your terms, you want a dog that is raised on confidence and is confident in doing that specific activity. Going back to the boat and everything else, you want a dog that just, throws themselves into the water because they're not scared of it. Then you want a dog that was introduced to the water properly. Don't throw them in the water. Don't push them off a dock. Don't drag them into the water. Get on, if you don't want to get wet, get some waders on. If you don't care about getting wet like myself, just go jump in a pond. Call them to you. Hey, pup, good boys. Look at that. Look at that, good boys. And they'll, most of the time, will come with you. All right, I won't harp on that. What's your other question?
No, and that's good. I mean, and it's bothersome, that some of those videos are shared and people, for some god awful reason, thinks it's funny when, the guy lets these little puppies swim there or try to swim there when they're going underwater in a 4.5 foot
I pretty
pool.
much broke the internet.
Dude, that was bad. But yeah.
I shared
but
that,
anyway,
and I pretty much broke the internet. And I didn't share it. Anybody listening, I didn't share it in a positive way. I shared it in a very like, if you want to screw your dog up, this is how you do it kind of way.
Yeah.
But that thing got like, it's actually still gets shared every once in a while. It didn't get taken down, and every once in a while I'll get a Facebook notification, and I'm like, what is that? Who shared what? And it's somebody sharing that video, and like, look at this, BS, whatever.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was really, really bad. That was heinous, actually. But yeah.
My last one. So you guys came out with a children's book, Boomer on the Bay, which I bought that.
Yep.
The kids love it. It is on Amazon. Boomer on the Bay. Check it out. My only question with the book is, what kind of pants are you wearing, dude?
So when we had the illustrator do it, I was going for like a Gaston from
it's very
Beauty and the
Gaston.
Beast look.
It's very Gaston.
Yeah. So that's what we were going for. My buddy Eric is he actually has a young dog with me training Harley. If anybody sees her like on my Instagram or Facebook, Harley is Eric's dog, and that's the dude that's with me that's got the ammo belt. That
gotcha.
I don't. Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I guess I'll just touch on the book for a second. I don't want to like take up a bunch of time, but like, Carly started that as like something to do for our kids. Not, like that wasn't supposed to be what it turned into be. And as cool as that is, it really was just like, hey, let's get this illustrator to do it. And she tweaked a couple things, and here we are. And she put my sea duck boat in it, and rig of sea duck decoys, and here's a book. And it got so popular, she's got 2 more on the way. She's got one with Ember. It's like that's actually supposed to come out, and I probably should know more about this. And I wish that we knew this, because I would have asked her what it was supposed to be. That one's already written, and it's actually so we've used the same illustrator, so things are similar, but she's put more emphasis on like, oh wow, more people are going to see this than our kids, so maybe things should make Matt not look like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
I was thinking like Dr. Bravestone from Jumanji, whatever it may be.
I'll do without the beer belly all day long. But the ammo belt and the sword is, for me, I know everybody has like those finishers.
You don't see that come with the sword?
Well, I mean, some of them are kind of unruly, so you might need to. Yeah. But yeah, I would, the next one, it'll be along the same compass, and we're actually doing one. She sent me some stuff the other day about. She's doing one for kind of like my clients' kids that are sending a dog. And it's man, I don't know what she called it, but it's about their dog going to school or camp or whatever, and kind of what they'll be doing when they're here. You know what I mean? Like, and it'd be something cool. And when she said she was going to do it, I was pretty excited about that, because one of the biggest things that I have with clients leaving their dogs for an extended amount of time is like, well, my family's going to miss him or her, and I appreciate that, but this will be something that'll kind of bridge the gap of like, hey, look, this is what our dog is doing when they're here, and it's kind of written so a kid can understand, like, hey, they're still having fun, they're still getting loved on, they're meeting new friends, they're doing this work, and then they're gonna go hunt with dad. So that should be really, really cool. Especially for my clients or any other retriever trainers clients to kind of give to their kids or their clients' kids, or my clients' kids, however you want to look at it, to kind of just give some way to make it easy for a child to understand why the dog that they put so much love and time into for the past however long, 4 months, 5 months since you've had it, is all of a sudden gone, and we don't see it until Saturdays when we go to Mr. Matt's. or, whatever retriever trainer that you choose to work with. So that'll be cool. I think that'll be kind of like Boomer was really cool because it was just nobody had ever done it. We sold a lot to people that we didn't know because they reached out and they were like, man, it's cool to find a book about hunting for our kids because we can't find it. And so that was like the coolest aspect of that. But I think one of the biggest things for like people that have dogs going to training, especially for like my clients, is a book about the kid's dog that just left. And that's usually pretty hard for them. And so like, they've got a book now to read before bedtime. I got even this Boomer book, like I got a video sent to me like 2 or 3 days ago of this little teeny kid that was like, no, we got to read this before bed, this Boomer book. And he was saying, he was like, Boomer book. He's like in his footy pajamas and everything. He's like, Boomer book. And it's just cool to see that like that many kids are interested in it because, from a kid who had a very easy introduction to the hunting world as a child, like I did, like if I didn't hunt, it would be like a weird thing probably because everybody in my family did, but like a kid who maybe like his dad is just, that's patient zero, I guess, that's the first hunter in the family.
Yep.
That's cool for them to be able to give something to their kid to be like, hey, like we'll read this at bedtime because this is what your dog's doing, and then you and me are going to take him hunting when he gets home.
I know when
thank you for bringing that up because I forgot all about that book. Yeah, that's cool.
When I get snaps from Pat and my kids say, Pat sent you a Snapchat, and I said, oh, he's the one with Boomer. Because we read Boomer, so they're like, but I'm like, let me see first before you look at that Snapchat. But he's probably training dogs, and then they'll be like, any yellow dog, they're like, that's Boomer. I'm like, that's probably Boomer.
Yeah.
So
80% of those snaps are training dogs. The other 20% I can't be held liable for.
No. So yeah, Pat.
Awesome.
Pat. Who's Pat Meal? I said, that's my buddy Matt. He doesn't know how to spell his name. I said, don't ask me. So.
That's funny. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
good
anyway.
stuff, man. I'm glad you brought that up, Dan. I'd forgot about the book too, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. And Matt, man,
it was more about the pants. It was more about the pants than the book, but
yeah, I know where that was going, but
no,
we're here now.
It was a good segue.
I'm gonna brush off the pants and I'm gonna just go sell another book. So
I like the sword idea personally. I'm kind of into that. So
have you seen the book?
Yeah, I've seen.
Where are we at here? So I have a revolver here. I don't know if you.
That's kind of high speed.
Yeah,
just keep it holstered
that's
at all
for the
times.
Cripples. Yeah, that's for the cripples. Just in case things get out of hand, out of pocket. But I don't know. Like, I think it was so funny, man. I hate to just dwell on it, but like it was so funny because when she did it, I was very, and I've said this on another podcast. When she brought this up, I was just like, yeah, honey, go ahead, make a book, cool. And then I think in 24 hours, it was like number 4 or number 7 on Amazon's bestseller list. And when she told me that, and I looked at it for myself, I kind of had that like, oh,
okay. You were serious about the
book. you wrote a book. Like,
you did.
This is a book.
You did that.
You did that. That. We didn't just send a check to somebody. Like, you wrote a book. But
awesome.
no, man, that was cool. And like sincerely, like, above all, everybody that knows me knows how much I adore my kids. I got 2 kids, 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and getting them into hunting, that they went on their first hunting trip with us this year, and we killed a 6 stag. And they were like through the whole process, tracking, gutting, the whole deal. They were there. And that was literally the proudest parenting moment of my entire life, like after them being born. So getting kids in the outdoor world is what we need to do. And if it takes, a silly children's book that I didn't think was going to do anything to get even one kid into it, then it's totally worth every cent that was invested into it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Sir.
Man. Yeah, that's good stuff. And man, I've enjoyed having you on the show, man. I appreciate you giving us so much of your time here. And doing it on such short notice.
Yeah, out of bed.
Yeah.
Let's bring that back one more time.
So let's
I'm
we can
PJ pants.
just for another quick talk about it, because we've probably set up 5 or 6 dates that just haven't worked out for whatever reason. So I'm like, man, you want to do a podcast?
But okay.
Yeah, you want to do a podcast? Yeah. All right, 10 minutes. Wait, are you serious? Yeah, let's go. And now here we are, hour and a half into this. So we're good.
In 10 minutes or a 10-minute podcast? Which I need clarification.
Clarify.
Because I just logged in Netflix and I don't know where we're going from here.
Like, grab a drink and your phone, man. Let's go. So
or 6, but whatever.
Well, we appreciate it, man, for sure. And definitely encourage people. You can check you out on, on your social feeds, Goose Creek Retrievers, as you said, lots of good stuff, coming out of there and cool training vids and all that stuff. So, Matt, man, again, appreciate the time. And, one of these days, and I've lived in Virginia since 2006, and Dan has never hunted down in Virginia, but one day when I convince him that road does in fact travel south as well as north, I'm going to pull him down here and we're going to come out and see you and hang out and see everything that you got going on out there.
So, I'm going to give me 10 more seconds, because Dan was supposed to come out here this hunting season and he was supposed to bring you and do a podcast on the boat shooting sea ducks. Dan, yes, no, am I a liar?
His compass.
I thought that was this fall. I thought this was this fall, 2021. Yeah.
Oh, I must have been mistaken 3 years ago. Okay. Totally understand that. Yeah. Yep.
All right. We'll mark it down this year.
I forgot to buy the 2021 planner in 2018, but okay.
Boom. Yep.
Roasted.
I digress.
Roasted.
I digress.
Yep. I feel good about what just happened right there. I feel good about that. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. So we're going to end it on that note. Matt, thanks again, man. Appreciate it. And best of luck on, hunt test season and stuff coming up.
Yeah, those things,
and,
the dog things.
The dog things that you're into. Good luck with that. And we'll be keeping up with you on social and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy. That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media, check us out over at hpoutdoors.com, and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.